Inside, everybody, it's OneSoccer today. Andy Petrillo alongside Gareth Wheeler, Oliver Platt. We're talking Canadian Premier League today. We're talking some news in the Canadian women's soccer landscape. But you know we're also going to be talking Champions League because the group stage is over. That is right. We know the teams that are moving on to the knockout stage. Now, December 13th, on that Monday, the draw will happen. We'll find out who will be facing whom in that one. And then round of 16 will begin in February. But let's get your thoughts, gentlemen, on how the group stage went. Most impressive team in the group stage, Ollie?
Well, I think the best team is Bayern Munich, but the team that impressed me most in the group stage just in itself was Liverpool. To be one of those three teams that had a perfect record, 6 wins out of 6, in the group that they were in with Atletico Madrid, with Porto, with AC Milan, like that was no easy task. And to come through it that easily, I think was pretty impressive. This team is back, in the Premier League, in the Champions League. They're going to be right there contending, and for me right now they have the best player in the world in Mohamed Salah leading the line. So really impressed with them, and they're going to be right in the mix at the end of it, I think.
It doesn't matter who they play, like which players they play either, as long as Salah and Mane are in that team. Like, it's incredible going to Milan and winning that final day with like a makeshift midfield, a completely different back line. I'm not sure anyone beats Liverpool this year, which pains me
That's big coming from
to
Gareth.
a great degree to say that much. Ajax, a legitimate Champions League contender this season. Whenever I hear, people speak from the traditional European powers and kind of just overlook Ajax, it doesn't really make much sense to me. They continue to cultivate and make young talent better. Sebastian Aller goes from West Ham, where he looked like a lost boy, to being the main man. He's got the most goals through the group stage. Second most goals scored by Ajax, another perfect record. Honestly, it could have been a tricky group. Borussia Dortmund, Sporting, Besiktas, they made it look easy. So Ajax caught my eye, and I do think they're a contender.
Opposite way, though. Who was the biggest disappointment to you?
Barcelona. Look, it was a dead rubber for Bayern Munich in that last game. Meant nothing. And Barcelona were just devoid of thought, energy, enthusiasm. Like, it was such a poor performance, which kind of really highlighted their entire campaign. They were given this chance to go on and get a result here because, let's be fair, Benfica should have beat them last time out and really put the nail in that coffin, but Barcelona was given that second chance. They threw it away. We've been there, done that with former players coming back to clubs and just essentially given the job as manager. This guy right here, Ollie, how many times did Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, you say, well, he coached in Norway, coached at Cardiff City. Where was Xavi managing?
It's a bit early for this.
Qatar or Kuwait? This is the whole point here. There was nothing to indicate that he was going to be able to turn around that team. Now they're back in the Europa League. So, that is the most disappointing story of the Champions League group.
Most disappointing story for me is the Bundesliga outside of Bayern Munich. I looked at that league a couple of years ago, and obviously Bayern are the best of the best, and they're always going to be up there. But I looked at Dortmund's with Erling Haaland and all the good young players they have. Leipzig went to a Champions League semi-final during the COVID bubble Champions League. And you're thinking, with all the young talent in this league, it's on the rise. There could be multiple contenders coming from the Bundesliga. Now, fast forward to this season, and only Bayern Munich are through to the knockout stage. And if Wolfsburg is the 4th best team in your league, then you've got a bit of a concern for me when it comes to competing with the Premier League and La Liga and those other divisions. So disappointing year for them, but they do still have Bayern, who look totally dominant.
We always love, now that we know the round of 16, if you had to pick a favorite. But I'm curious if you have one, or if you have pretty much a long list of potential winners.
I have 5. That I think can win the competition. And then there's a few others that I think I want to talk myself into it at times, like Ajax being one of them, but I can't. So Chelsea, Liverpool, City from the Premier League, Bayern, and then my 5th that I would just about include is Real Madrid. Just because I still look at Alaba, Kroos, Modric, Benzema, Carlo Ancelotti, they've been there and done it. They know how to do it. They're not the best team right now, but I think they could.
I'll add a couple more. PSG. Why can't PSG go on, aside with Mbappe, Messi, and Neymar, you're saying no chance? I think that PSG is a real chance. I'll put Ajax in that mix. I had another team as well. It's going to come to me. It's not Manchester United, by the way. Well, absolutely not Manchester United.
You can make a case for United that the talent is there and they've changed the coach. So you look at what Chelsea did under Tuchel last season, maybe. But I wouldn't quite have them on my list yet, I don't think.
They don't make my list either. Yeah.
Okay, so a decent amount, but not 50%, right? So you're still thinking this is a small group that can win this when you're talking about the round of 16.
I mean, when you look at like Liverpool and Bayern and the level they're at, like that's why I don't think PSG can do it, because I just don't think they're close in terms of the whole package, a properly balanced team right now.
Yeah. Are you Googling?
I'm checking. I had 8 teams. I know I had 8. Atletico Madrid.
So you did have 50%. Okay.
Lucky to get through.
Okay.
So, sorry for Atleti. That was by a whisker, by a hair. And Porto should have gone on. Player was sent off for Atletico Madrid. And then a Porto player was sent off just like 3 minutes later. So Atleti should have been out, but now that they're alive, they're one of those second seeds that if you're a top seed, you don't want to play them in the next round in this competition. Them and PSG.
All right, but from a Canadian perspective, here's what's pretty special. Moving on to the round of 16, you're going to have 2 Canadians. There's Jonathan David and his little side, and Alphonso Davies with Bayern Munich. And both of them also factored in that final group stage game. And I'm curious to know which one you guys think is the better moment. So this, of course, is Davies with his assist in the third goal in what was a 3-0 victory for Bayern. Or how about the David goal? This came in the 72nd minute, 3-1. They were victors over Wolfsburg. Wheels, which one did you like better?
Now, I've seen Davies do it against Barcelona before in much more spectacular fashion. Although that was good, I just can't get Davies out of my head, how he did in Barcelona on a previous occasion. Let's go with the goal. It's hard not to go with the goal rather than the assist. Good finish. It always looks better when it goes off the post and in. If it just went into the corner without touching the post the way it did, not as good. So I'll give it to Johnny David on this occasion.
Yeah, I love that goal from David. It's just him all over, right? Like, bring the defender out, draw him out, take the space in behind, and then the way he like opens his body up and you think he's going for the far corner, the keeper did as well, and just slots it near post. I love that one. But Davies does that a lot, right? Where you think he's running out of room, he's running out of pitch, and the ball's going to go out for a goal kick, and he just reels it in somehow because he's quicker than everyone else in the world.
How cool is it, like, for the first time, on the men's side, 2 men's players going to the beyond the group stage of the Champions League? Like, this is special stuff here.
And not just any old players, like key players on their teams as well.
Maybe the announcers will start calling Davies instead of Davis. What is it? Davis or Davis. What's up with that?
They'll get the name right at some point. You will know his name. Well, as I mentioned, on Monday, December 13th, that's when they're going to do the draw. But if you were to just have your own way right now, what do you think the best matchups would be for the 2 Canadians and their teams?
Well, I don't think Bayern need to fear anyone, but obviously they'll want to avoid Chelsea. I honestly don't think they would mind playing Paris Saint-Germain either, but you know, obviously there are easier teams in there. And then with David, I look at if just looking at it from Jonathan David's point of view personally, and not so much Lille, I think you want to play a Premier League team at some point, right? Whether that's getting a slightly easier draw in the round of 16 and going into the quarterfinals, or playing Chelsea in the round of 16, that's the stage you want. When you're getting linked to Liverpool and Arsenal and all of those clubs, I think you want to show what you can do against, those teams that are among the most popular in the world.
I've long said that I think that Jonathan David's next move should be into the Serie A. I think it suits the way that he plays. I think that the way that he's surgical in his movement, I think it suits maybe a little bit of a different style play in Serie A. I love to see him play Inter. I'd love to see that matchup because I think he could very well be an Inter player in the future. We'll see what happens with Lautaro Martinez. I think he's staying, but certainly Dzeko is not the answer up top. They will need a striker. Jonathan David would fit the bill for me. Be a pretty good spot for him to go, and why not test it out by playing them in the next stage of this competition?
All right. Well, on the women's side, UEFA Champions League, one of the teams that has moved on, PSG, and Canadian Jordan Huitema has been shining for this team. In fact, in a Champions League game back in October, got a hat trick, and then in this game here ended up being a 6-0 final. She opened up the scoring in this one. And I'm wondering, Wheels, is this also an indicator that there's a big year to come? And do you think she's turned the corner as well?
I'm not sure if this is an indicator. There's a big gulf in terms of competition with the better teams in the Women's Champions League and some of the teams that she's playing now, but this is a great sign. And I really think that there's a spot for Huitema in the Canadian women's national team to have a big year if she steps forward or takes a step forward in her club game as well. Like, isn't that what this Canadian women's team is crying out for right now? Someone that can regularly put the ball in the back of the net, maybe even limited chances created. So let's hope that this incites something, because she's a wonderful talent. She has all the ability in the world to take her game to the next level. So once you start scoring goals, it can oftentimes have that snowball effect. Hopefully this gives her a longer, more extended run in the team, and hopefully that means good things for country as well.
Yeah, the last few times I've seen her, it does look to me as if she's taken a bit of a step athletically over the past few months and coming into this new season. Like, she's tall, obviously, and when she really physically matures, I think she is going to be difficult to handle in the air, and you can see it there. That's a really difficult header to score, like really well executed, not even really facing the goal to glance that one the way she does. We saw it against Mexico as well. Like, if you get good service into Jordan Huitema in the box from wide areas, she's going to be a handful, I think, for anyone, even much stronger teams than this. So that's something that I think can be a weapon and is a bit of a sign that maybe the growth is starting to come.
Well, a few days ago, a tweet went out by the WPSL that got a lot of people excited. And the tweet was indicating that they were coming for Canada, that they have Canada covered. And it was a little bit mysterious, too. I mean, basically tweeting out the big cities, Vancouver, Calgary, Toronto, Montreal, indicating that teams were coming there.
And more.
And more.
Get ready.
Where else are you going? So right away, we started to do some research because we went, what the? But here's the thing, and there's a reason why a lot of the Canadian women's national team players are not backing this. Stephanie LeBay, one of them, to put out a tweet saying, this is a semi-pro league. It is a notch even two below the NWSL. And here's the other thing. Canada does have leagues like this. There is League One Ontario in particular, which is a semi-pro league for women, which plays roughly the same amount of games over the same amount of time. And League One BC, which will also be for women, will launch next year in May. This is the equivalent of those leagues. So this is why nobody should be surprised that people within the soccer community and the players themselves are not getting excited about this, because if you think it's a good thing, then you're not listening to them. The update we can give is they want a fully professional, financially viable league. I can tell you that there is a group of former players who have been working tirelessly behind the scenes, putting together a group that can go out and do the research that is necessary to create a domestic league that will last. And one of the big things, of course, is the length of the league. They want at least, Ollie, 7 months. When you look at the league in England, it's roughly that, right? A little bit 7, 8 months. The semi-pros are about 2-3 months. We even look at the league in Australia that launched in 2008. That's roughly, 3 to maybe 5 months. Minimum 7 months or more. So when you saw the WPSL tweet, what was your reaction to that?
Yeah, it didn't quite sit right with me, to be honest. Like, I really hope that this can be something that helps, and like more semi-pro opportunities, if that can be a piece of the puzzle somewhere in the bigger picture, then great. But when you say, we're answering the call, everyone knows right now what the call is, right? The call is for a professional league. After the gold medal, there's more momentum, more conversation around this than ever. And so you're clearly like leading people along to think that this is the answer, right? This is the professional league. This is the solution. It's coming. Montreal, Toronto, Edmonton, everything else, what they said, congratulations, everyone. Like, the wait is over. And like, for it not to be that, and for it to be a bit of a marketing play to obviously draw attention to what they're doing, which is something very different, it's not a great start, to be honest, in my books. I wasn't particularly impressed by some of the major networks that were, chiming in and promoting this without really doing any homework of their own either. But hopefully it can be, as I said, a piece of the puzzle somewhere. And, it's not a bad thing to have more opportunities for kind of collegiate level players and young amateur players. But we know that the missing piece is what happens when you graduate, what happens when you become an adult. Can you become a professional? Not right now in this country.
It's a PR campaign. Like that's why you're liking or retweet. This is for an online audience to get likes and retweets. Everyone just needs to take a deep breath. Establishing a professional league during COVID, by the way, is not easy. This is going to take time. It's not one of these things like we come out of the Olympics, boom, I want a league, here you go. Like, it just doesn't happen that way. There's a lot of conversations, a lot of prep, a lot of research, a lot of red tape that needs to go through in order to make this happen. One thing that is abundantly clear that we should just get out there. Have either of you met one person, one human being that's against the idea of having a women's professional league in this country? No. So let's stop treating it like this is something that no one wants. This is going to take time. And I think that people just need to cool it, be a little bit more patient in the process. Andy, what can be done in an expedited way is for a big conglomerate, big company in this country to go out and buy an NWSL team. And I honestly think that this is the first step in taking this project forward because it creates more professional opportunity, more exposure to the women's professional game in this country, something that exposure is very limited at present time. NWSL should be the first priority to establish 2-3 teams in this country. Then we build out our professional infrastructure first. I understand that the CPL's around and MLS. Well, CPL came a hell of a long time after Major League Soccer, and the league is still in a position where it needs to grow, it needs to make money, it needs to build an audience. I think we just need to be a little bit patient here, take it step by step, and understand that we can go down different paths at the same time here. We can prepare and put the wheels in motion towards creating a women's league in this country, but also embrace the fact that getting a couple NWSL clubs in Canada would be pretty cool. It would go a long way in taking the game forward in this country from a club perspective.
I want to get to that in just a moment because I do want to go back to this group that's being led by former players who are doing a lot of what you're saying right now because they understand that a lot of work needs to be done in order to make sure that when they launch a league, it is here to stay. It is viable. But how important is it, Ollie, as well, to get that stamp of approval from Canada Soccer to help along?
Yeah, of course, you need that sanctioning. We've seen on the men's side as well, how complicated it can be when that doesn't happen. And, I'm not suggesting for a second that Canada Soccer should, just click their fingers and say, okay, we sanction this league. But I think what, we'd like to see to start with is a study, right? Like, empower people to go and produce a report, to do the research required, to get the kind of, to talk to the people who are going to need to be involved and get a really clear picture of what this thing could look like. And then when you have something like that and you have proof of the viability of something like this, then you can start talking about how we bring it all together, what kind of people are involved in terms of the investors, who's sanctioning it, so on and so forth. That needs to happen first for me, and then we'll be getting somewhere.
But timing is everything here. Literally on Wednesday, the president of the Canadian Soccer Association, Nick Bontis, publicly posted a job posting for the new general secretary of the Canadian Soccer Association. Don't you want to wait until that person is hired in order to take this project forward? Until new leadership is in the Canadian Soccer Association that can bring upon positive change, I think you're talking to the wall to a certain degree. If I am women's play, if I'm men's play, if I'm anyone involved in Canadian soccer right now, I am behind the scenes doing work, making sure who's ever hired for that all-important job is the best candidate possible. I don't care if they're Canadian. They need to be best in class. They need to be capable of taking the programs, all programs across this country, forward in a conducive way where it's a professionally run organization to the highest standard possible. Peter Montopoli built and kept the foundation together, some very impressive accomplishments, but now it's time to move on from that with him leaving. And it provides a massive opportunity to get a proper voice, woman or man, in that position from anywhere who is best in class that can help build this women's league in conjunction with these players. These players shouldn't be asked or tasked to do it their own. They need help. Well, the general secretary should be hired early in the new year, Ollie. I would be a little bit patient on this one and see that process out.
Yeah, I agree to an extent, but I don't think, whoever that general secretary is, I'm not sure they're going to know more about how to get this thing going and get this thing started than some of the players that are working behind the scenes.
You don't think that there could be someone from the UK who's helped work with the FA, or women's football in France. Like, there's capable people across the board that
I
can
think
work
when it comes to actually putting the league into reality, of course that person you would hope would have a big role to play. But where we are right now, where we need to find out, again, we need to figure out the viability of this. We need to, commission some studies, some reports, whatever you want to call it. I think we have the people to do that already. I think we've got people who have been in the Canadian game their whole lives, have played for the women's national team, so on and so forth. I think they can handle that part. And so for me is the bit that we can get moving now.
It's just the business side of the equation. Remember, the Canadian Soccer Association isn't just going to rubber stamp any old league. Like, they helped establish the NWSL.
Yeah. Like, that's what happens, right? They'll do that once there's a study to say, we looked at this market, it's financially viable, we can market here. We looked at this market, we can travel here without costing too, you know what I mean? Now you have the study that can put that in place, and then you hope you get the approval from Canada Soccer, which could then help to bring investors on board, sponsors on board, owners on board.
Just in any profession, I would always advise to understand who you're dealing with first. I'd hate for them to do a lot of work that's unnecessary, or maybe not angled the right way. I think that the next card that needs to be played is making sure that the women's team and the women's program has a voice on who that next general secretary is. That's where my focus would be.
We're all curious to find out who that is too. And I just wanted to mention the NWSL team. I think that would be great. Imagine having an MLS site. Toronto FC, MLSE could have that next year if they wanted to.
Well, yeah, it's maybe not that simple, but yes, they. So why?
But yes.
The question is But the question is, why haven't they?
Yeah, well, let's get them on the line.
I don't have that
find
answer.
Out why.
And, the other important thing to remember with that is that's a start, but it doesn't completely solve the problem, right? That gets you some players back here, some senior players back into the NWSL, great. It gets you a small number of youth players that can maybe learn underneath them. Doesn't solve the whole problem across the country.
But it's a start.
It's a start.
League.